Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this panel with the incredible Demy. We're going to talk mostly today about 433, its founding, how it all got started, and then how you're working today with brands, your plans for the U.S. market, and touch on a few other topics. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Demy, for being here. Let's start there with the journey of 433. How did that media property get started? Tell us about it.
Yes, hello, my name is Demy. I can tell you a little bit. I was playing football myself at a really high stage. I played on the World Cup, Champions League games, and I was always wondering why football and journalists in general always talk really about the negative stuff on football. And I thought, why there's not someone talking about the positive things in football, the beautiful things like the nutmeg or the assist or all this kind of stuff. And then I met another guy on Twitter. He was really small, maybe a couple of hundred followers. And I said, Instagram is coming up. Let's start a business together. And that's basically how we start.
So did you start the business while you were still playing or after?
Yes, I was after the World Cup in 2010. I was playing against Uruguay. I get kicked in my face. And that moment I was always dreaming about playing in La Liga or Italy or some nice competitions. But I felt that I was not the same anymore, and instead of going to La Liga, I go to the Russian Liga. And that time I was basically every day for 2 hours going to the training in the car and was thinking, okay, what I can do to to spend my time more wisely. And then I started reading books, listen to podcasts, and then my entrepreneurship, grow more and more. And when I play in Anderlecht, NAC Breda, I was more entrepreneur than football player.
When did you found, in what year did you found 433?
2011, 2010, something like that.
Okay, because that was kind of the early years of players becoming entrepreneurs. Is anyone in your family an entrepreneur? How did you get the bug?
My father always was, but I was more curious about myself. What can I do in the space of football that is really I like to do? Because I think if you like your work, you have to do something that is more a hobby than really work. So that's why I thought, okay, let's do something in clothing. So Ball is also a fashion brand. And for 3, I said, if we need to pay everyone to promote Baller, it's really difficult. So why not build our own platform? And that is 43.
Okay, really smart. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the branded partnerships that you have been engaging in and how that's changed over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, so I think from the start we always said, let's focus on the content and don't do too much ads, because you see if you do too much commercial stuff or ads, the followers will stop following you. So what we try to do is mostly really branded content. I think almost 99% is branded content. Sometimes we post an ad because a company pays for it. But mostly we want to do something with the brand, a player or a club. We do a lot of takeovers. But also sometimes we get briefings from Puma or Nike. They said, okay, you have a budget, do something with player X. And we do the concepting, we do the filming, the editing, the production, and we post on our own channel.
And I think we live in a time today that most fans are following athletes above teams and leagues and media companies. Obviously, being a former player, what is your access to bring players in when a Nike or a Puma says, we want to do something with you? Are they asking for players? Are you in a position to provide those players? What role does having access to players factor into some of your sponsored content?
Yeah, we get a lot of questions from everyone, and I think with Fortune we are really in the middle of the clubs, the fans, the players, and we are, I think, in the sweet spot. And it's really different. Sometimes we get briefings from companies that said we want to do this campaign with player X, and we look at the briefings that he's not gonna do that. Why you want to do that? And we always advise them to do something that's really engaging. That's the most important for the content we make. It needs to be engaged. And you see that a lot of brands don't understand how the younger audience watch or like to consume football. And if the ad is good, it doesn't matter. It's a sponsored ad. But if the ad is bad, you get punished direct in following or in views.
Obviously, as a PR expert, I run into this issue a lot in terms of helping European football clubs and leagues understand and execute campaigns that will resonate with young fans. And young fans in America in particular are used to a very entertainment-focused content, and that is a little bit more challenging for some more conservative football clubs and leagues based here who are more focused on the result. So how do you convince a brand to change their strategy? And also, can you share some examples of some of the best branded sponsorship or content that you've created on 433? To give us some example of like what really works, what's really resonating.
Yeah, I think the best campaign we did was with Activision in COVID. They came to us and they said, we have a budget, can you arrange some football players to play the new Activision game, Call of Duty? And I think we had like 30 or 40 players, from Marcelo to Pato to a lot of big players, really big players. And there were players fighting to come in the game because they also want to play it first. And after that, we had a talk with Activision, and they told us, I think there's no one in the world that could get 30 players, professional players from Real Madrid to lower league levels to be. We don't even pay them to be in this game, in this advertisement from us. And I think that was the best compliment, because we have a lot of contact with players in DM or WhatsApp or direct or by managers. And I think because we really know what players like, because I was a player myself, I also know what campaigns will score well or what doesn't score well. And I think with Activision was really the best example of how branded content should be if you want to have football players in it.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point, because we're always so focused on what the brand wants because they have the money. But at the end of the day, players don't want to feel like a ploy in your game or to be seen as a clown in a circus. So I think having that understanding of what will also
they
work.
want to be that, but then you have to pay. That's the problem. If you pay, they do anything. But we said, we have a new game. Do you want to be in this game? And we said we have only 30 places. So if you want to come, come. And then the next year we had another similar, and then we had a lot of players already said, okay, if the game come on, put me in the game. And yeah, now we have a really good relationship with Activision.
And can you talk a little bit about how you work with clubs and leagues?
Yeah, we work with Bundesliga, La Liga, Inter Miami, Juventus. So mostly what's clubs or leagues want, they invite us to the game. We do a takeover, or with Bundesliga we do like every week some content pieces in video content or just highlights or clips. And yeah, everything we do is brand safe. So they also know that what we post is also how you say that, is always safe for the brands, for the sponsors, because it's not only we get a clip from Bundesliga. No, we have the sponsorship of the Bundesliga. They need to be happy. We need to be happy. And yeah, we work with a lot of different companies, even like Apple. We get a briefing from them. Can you do something for Apple Pass? So we said, okay, we can do that, but give us Messi for 30 minutes. Then we get Messi for 30 minutes. And that's mostly how we try to work. We always try to make like a triangle to do something with a brand and a player or a club, but it needs to be feel naturally.
Of course. And it's funny that you mentioned Messi, because you're representing Barcelona in the US for 10 years. Messi never wanted to do any sort of activations. He was always very hesitant to do an interview. And now at Inter, he's doing all of this really innovative, fun stuff. So I'm not happy with him. But anyway, moving on to just share a little bit more about what the future of 433 looks like. How has the company grown over the last 10, 15 years? And what's that future? Where are you looking next in terms of growth and opportunity?
Yeah, I think when we started 433, there was on Instagram, for example, only pictures. So every time Meta decided to make a new tag on the platform, it always, I always had the feeling that they make it for us, because then we get 15 seconds videos, then we get reels. So a lot of things we do as a company comes because of Meta make new tag. And I think we were the first one a good example of how clubs should do the social media. I think now, if you see how clubs do the social media, it's all the same. But we are the first one that coming with wallpapers, do takeovers, all this kind of stuff. And now it's basically normal. So what we want to do now with 4-3, we built our own platform, like our own app that is just finished, and we really want to be the big data collector for the football fans. So we are really independent, so we don't have any rules to anyone, and we see now already that, for example, we know from 270,000 people that Real Madrid is their favorite club. This data we already have. And now we want to, of course, have more data. But as a company, we need to be independent from Meta, because if they do something, then we are basically fucked. So now we want to be more and more building our own platform, but not forget our social, because it's really important. We really pay a big influences for how young kids, boys, girls, watch football, think about football. See that football is something positive, something nice, and that's what we really want to continue. But also we want to have more revenue in the data we collect, that we collect.
Yeah, obviously data is a huge opportunity, and so how do you plan to execute against the data? Like, will you have new offerings? Will you go into, I mean, you're already in retail in terms of your brand Baller, but how do you envision leveraging the data to drive new revenue streams?
Yeah, there's some different kind of things. We have now some license deals with an energy drink. In 2 weeks we will launch something with Kappa. But I think for us, what we need to do is extend our what we can do on social. We cannot do everything on socials, like quizzes, predictions. We cannot do on social. So if people want to know more or consume more 4-3 content, we have to give them a platform, and that's what we're building with with our own tech.
Are you using any sort of other technology to produce your content or to execute your business, such as AI? It's obviously a big topic in sports and in every industry.
Yeah, everywhere is a big topic, and we have a lot of fights because what I told you, we were the first with all the graphics, and it's like a graphic takes like 4 or 5 hour time, and I was thinking why we cannot do it fast. We need to hire one good AI guy, and I was searching on Instagram to a lot of AI guys, and then I found one guy, and I said, can you do this, what this guy is working 4 hours? Can you do it in maybe an hour or 1 minute, 2 minutes? And he came back in 5 minutes. He said, I make this. It looks a little bit similar. Yours maybe a little bit stronger, but that was 3-4 months ago. And now he make the same in 1 minute. So now we really fights with the graphic guys from, hey guys, he takes it 1 minute, you do 3 hours. It's not, yeah, we cannot talk about your production or whatever, what you take, but he can do it in 1 minute. So now we have some fights with the graphic designers, but now we're gonna make more. You see now that the creativity of the guys and the content makers now coming together with AI, and we can do now make so much more content, and yeah, it makes the content for us faster and better, because if I look at the numbers in our app, the AI content scores better than the content we should make before. And now it's only photos, and now I'm really working with some guys to make video content in AI with, for example, predictions of the Champions League game. We can simulate the prediction of, we can simulate already this game, or even a Ballon d'Or ceremony. We can already make it in AI. So that's something I'm working on with, with some guys to make new content in a different way, but with AI, because it's possible.
Data, AI, obviously you have your finger on the pulse of trends. I must ask, considering I'm from New York in the US, and that's my focus area, what 433's plans are for potentially expanding in the US market. This summer's the Club World Cup. Next summer, the World Cup will be played across the Americas. U.S. fans, there is a much higher, interest in football and European football in the U.S. market, even more, I would say, than the MLS and the NWSL, because Americans like to follow the best, and European football is the best when it comes to that. So, what are your plans, if any, to think about expansion into the U.S. market?
Yeah, I think we already work for a long time with MLS, and I think the MLS has the problem that normally the best players don't play there. Now they have one of the best players with Messi, and I think it's really difficult to be a big competition if you don't have the best players. Because you see, even here in the Netherlands, you have a local game you support, but the rest is Premier League and maybe Barcelona or Real Madrid, and then it stops. And we see in the content we post that it's only about maybe 6-7 clubs in the world that really are daily high engagement with fans, with the young audience. And I think the USA, if they really want to be the big competition, they need to bring more stars and forget the salary cap. I think if you do that, I think you can make a good competition, because everyone says, look what Saudi doing with the money, but they have of course a lot of money, but it's also entertainment. Yeah. They understand that all the clips on TikTok, on Snapchat, etc., it's all, you can get it. If you now go to ESPN, give me some highlights, they send you first a check to sign, and then you get anything. And we are lucky, because we're with 4-3 really big, that we get the highlights of MLS. But if we don't post the MLS, no one will post and no one will see it. So we really push the American football on our platform, and not only American football, also the women's game. But I think if you really want to go big in the USA, you need to be there, and you need to have full access to the clubs, the players, etc. Then you can really expand as a league or as a country, as a football nation. And I think that's something that Saudi did well. They opened everything for everyone. You can basically have all the rights you want. And yeah, the USA is more difficult, more protected, because you understand the best how IP works and what's it worth. And yeah, maybe for other countries are a little bit difficult, but I think the USA has a really big opportunity to become a really big football nation. And yeah, I hope that the tournaments will bring much more value for the American game, because they have a lot of big talents. We just had a shoot with Tillman 2 days before he went champion. So we think there's many talent in USA, but they don't recognize enough how good they are, because Tillman is the best player we have in the Netherlands.
Well, it's funny because, I know you're talking about the MLS and US football or US soccer, but really the American fans are more interested in the European football clubs. And for a time when I represented Barcelona, we had Dest, a Dutch native, but we positioned him as an American because he has an American passport. And the amount of interest that both media and fans showed, and I think the reverse is also opposite. While the US needs to get better talent, I think elevating some American talent in these big European leagues and clubs will also really drive fandom in the U.S. market. So I think
I think that's I think the most important, because if you don't have talent from USA in Europe, you don't have a feeling with a club like Tillman or Pulisic. Everyone wants to watch them how they play, and I think it's important that you have really good talents playing in Europe in the biggest stage. And I think Tillman has the potential to be there, and I think that will also help kids in USA. I want to be the next Tillman, or I want to be the next Pulisic, and that will also grow the game.
Aside from players, which we know are driving a lot of fan interest, are you working with influencers and content creators to activate campaigns?
Yeah, we work a lot with influencers. We create also our influencers by ourselves, because when we post a couple of times about an influencer, he gets really big. And I think, we always try to post everyone, not only big influencers, but also kids in Indonesia or in India that make good content. We always try to make the best possible content, and if it comes from an influencer or from a player, it doesn't really matter for us, but the content needs to be good and engagement. I think that's important, but a lot of brands ask influencers to do stuff, but it's always difficult how they perform. Does it fit the brand? And because influencers do something for brand A at 3 o'clock and brand X on 5 o'clock, so it's really difficult to find the good influencers, but I think it's part of the society these days.
And then regarding like the last 12 months, I know you told me about a campaign in 2020 or 2021. These last 6 to 12 months, what have been some of the best performing content pieces, either in the app and or on your social? Just to get an understanding of like where fans are today, what types of content they're consuming.
Now, if you're a 70-year-old boy and you're killing Real Madrid 4 times in a row, that scores the best. And I think Jamal is really a talent that will keep scoring. Everything he does scores really well. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you post them like 2 times a day or 5 times a day, it keeps scoring well. And I think that's, you see now with, I don't know if it's is a trend, but I see on social media now that a lot of clips from stands from the like Real Madrid or Barcelona, that people filming the whole game, and someone scores, they have the film, they post it online, and you see, yeah, you see the goals direct in your timeline. And I think that's, if I am broadcaster, I will be worried about what is happening in social media, because I'm a big football fan. I watch a lot of football, but now these days I even don't go, or I don't stay home. I just go out because I know in Instagram I have in 10 seconds I have the goal from Barcelona against Real Madrid or whoever scores in the big league. I have it on my phone. So why I should stay home for 90 minutes if I only want to see a goal of Jamal?
Right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's where my line of questioning is going to go. We've talked a lot about the positive side of the business and what you're seeing, but let's talk a little bit about the challenges. Obviously, you mentioned one here. What other challenges do you think media industry is facing, and maybe even more specifically, like a football media, football-focused media might face in the next year to 5 years?
I think AI is the problem, because you can do so much with the IP from someone else. And what I told you, I have a 11-year-old daughter. She doesn't even watch any game, but she knows everything. So how does he know everything? Because if she watch clips on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, etc. And she understands everything, but she never watch a game. If I watch a game with her with 90 minutes, after 1 minute she goes, okay, to the phone or do something else. And it's really about attention. And of course, a Classico everyone wants to see, but yeah, it's more busy to entertain against Netflix or YouTube or other platforms. I think the entertainment sector is becoming so big that it's, yeah, the competition comes from everyone.
So 2 final questions. One is, how do you measure success? What has been the growth, if you want to share any numbers, percentages? What has been the growth of 433 since its founding, and how do you measure success?
No, I think if we, like every social media account, if you start on zero. Today we reach like 400 million unique accounts every month. We have around 8 to 9 billion views a month, so a lot of engagement from our side. And yeah, success is something, yeah, I don't will call it success, but I think where I'm the most proud of is that we really changed something in the football industry, that we show that everything can be positive. I think that's something I'm really proud of, and that we really push the women's game. I think we have, with 10 million followers, women followers on our account, we show every day that, yeah, that women's football is exists, and it only keeps growing. And I think that's for me the most important. I have an 11-year-old daughter that plays here at Ajax Amsterdam, and for her I want to be the dad that really has done everything for women's football. That was in my possibilities to show her that she doesn't need to have Ronaldinho as an idol, but has Lika Martens or Alexia or someone like this, and that in the future she be herself her own idol.
I love that. Well, that ties in really nicely to my next question around what your vision for football is. Where do you want to see the industry go, and how can 433 help push it in that direction?
I think football is the only thing. If you go here on a game on Sunday, you see every religion, every people in the world love football, and it doesn't go about politics. And you see now these days that football become more and more politics. And I think that's something we as footballer always get the question, like, why are you playing in Qatar, you know, the human rights and etc. We cannot do anything about it as football players, but they always get the questions to us. And I think football needs to be positive, because it's always a big party where you are. Every competition is always fun, and I think we don't need to be so serious. Football is just fun, and everyone that is here has something to do with football. They love football, and I think that's much more important than anything else in the world. And if we just keep loving football, everything will be all right. And that's my own vision, and I think we can really help to to do much more in our own IP. I think that's something we have a big challenge. How could Feed 43 become more an offline company? Because we're now in the phones, but can we do tournaments? Can we do panels? Can we do events? And I think that's something we are working on now to become more visible everywhere in the world.
That's all I have for you. Is there anything more that you want to share with the audience about 433 that they should know before we wrap the panel?
No, not really. I want to thank you for your time and hope you have a good day here and tomorrow, and yeah, connect with good people all over the world to bring the game further.
Great. Thank you, Demy. Thank you.